Good morning and welcome to Andre the Podcast. I'm happy to have you all here with me on this Thursday morning. It's 11 a.m. So you know what time it is. It's time for us to start talking. And on today's show, we're talking about Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We're at the end of October. And of course, I couldn't let the month go by without highlighting this very vital and important conversation about breast cancer. And did you know that breast cancer not only affects women, but it also affects men as well. And so today we're going to be exploring a very personal journey with someone who is a very important person in my life. I'm talking with my cousin today. Her name is Tiffany Bearden. She is a nurse, and she is here with me today to talk about her own journey with breast cancer and how it shaped who she is today. Tiffany, welcome to ATP.
Thank you. Hi.
You're welcome. Thanks for being here. If you can't tell, she's a little nervous, and that's all right. We're gonna get through
Mhm.
this. It's gonna be all right. Don't worry. I got you. I got you. So yeah, we're just talking about breast cancer. I know this is a very personal story and a very personal topic for you because you are a breast cancer survivor. So
Yes.
my first question to you really is, can you take us back to that moment when you learned about your diagnosis and what that feeling was like for you?
Actually, I can. That kind of stuff you never forget. Um, for me, in my particular situation, it was not something that we were looking for. Um, I was 29. I had just turned 29. And during that time, I had gained weight. And it had nothing to do with any kind of illness. I had my kids. They were young in elementary school and had stopped doing the ripping and running that a 20-year-old does. So I had gained quite a bit of weight. So by the time I turned, I think like 28, I started intentionally, trying to lose weight. Well, as my weight went down, of course, for women, one of the first things we lose, and some of us hate it, some of us like it. I wasn't crazy about it. I needed my boobs to be there. So I started losing weight in my breasts first. And as my weight went down, you could literally see a knot forming on my right breast. And I mean, it was a nice little size to the point where, and it was summertime, so I would wear, low cut, like halters and stuff like that, and it was just there. Didn't think anything of it, and I would just sit there and do this all the time with it. And I had my niece was born, and she would sit and play with it. She would He's maybe 1, 2 years old, something like that, and she would see it and she would play with it. So, but I didn't think anything of it. I don't know why. But my mom, who was also a nurse, one day she came in and the baby was doing this, and I was like, "Oh, you know what? I never showed you. I got a little bump here." And she was like, "What?" So she looked at it, she felt on it, and she was like, "Girl, have you been to the doctor yet?" I hadn't, because I didn't think nothing of it. So she made me an appointment and we got me to the doctor. The doctor was a friend of hers and somebody she also worked with. So the everything went real fast. Once the I got to the doctor and they saw it, and I was like, okay, we'll wait on the results. I still didn't, breast cancer doesn't run in our family. We had nobody who had ever had breast cancer. So I didn't really, I wasn't concerned. So anyway, my mom called within days. It was probably 4, 5 days later. She called and she told me to meet her at my apartment. Um, she called my husband. She called my brothers. I had no idea she had called all these people. We met at the house and I was like, what's up? Still didn't think anything. And that's the day I found out. That's when I found out the doctor had actually told her my results came back positive. So much for HIPAA when your family got friends in high places. So, mom told me, and the first thing I thought, because at that time I didn't know a whole lot about breast cancer. The only thing in my head that went through my head at that moment when she told me was I could die. That's all I thought. And I hadn't become a nurse yet. I wasn't even in nursing school, as a matter of fact. And my mom, she told me, and my first thought was I could die, and then it was July when this happened, and in my head I was like, "Am I going to be here for Christmas?" And that came into play because I had two little kids. They were in elementary school, really young. So I was like, okay, I thought I would have time to consume this information. I didn't really because of who my mom was, because I figured, I'd have time to think about it, decide, think about treatment, what I was going to do. And she wasn't having none of that. She was like, you got an appointment in 2 days. We got go see the surgeon. Um, Go talk to the oncologist. And I was like, well, can I have a minute? And I literally said that I was like, can I have a minute? Can I think about what I want to do? And she was like, no, we're not doing that. So from that point on, it all took off.
It's very
And
powerful. I mean, honestly, I didn't even know the full story. Like, I knew that you were a survivor of it, but I didn't know how it started. I didn't realize it was when you were so young. And a lot of
mhm,
people think that, okay, I'm young, that that won't happen to me. That's typically something that might happen
exactly.
later on in life. So it's
Right.
very eye
And
opening.
that's why I wasn't worried about that. You couldn't have made me believe it was going to come back positive. I was like, whatever. Okay. Just to pacify my mama, but it turned out such. And you know, like, wow, 29. They don't, at that time, women weren't even being told to have mammograms, so yeah.
Yeah, but now they're telling people to do it, so it's saving even more lives now than maybe even
Mhm.
beforehand. So my next question to you is this. Not only are you a survivor of it, but you are now a nurse.
Mhm.
As a nurse, of course, you see patients and they are diagnosed with different things each and every day. How did it feel? I guess you weren't a nurse yet, but now that you've gone through it, how does it feel to know that you were a patient going through this while also now being a nurse? How has all of that come together into play for you?
Um, as a being a nurse and having gone through that, it has truly helped me be a better nurse and be able to show empathy for my patients. Anybody that knows me, um, I love what I do, um, and I I spend a lot of time educating because of the things that I've gone through. Um, having gone through the chemo side of it, because it did so much to my body. I had a lot of run-ins with a lot of different conditions because it really wore my body down and my immune system. So there were things that I probably wouldn't have had to deal with that when I came across patients that had certain conditions that I had, and I had them because of the cancer, Raynaud's being one of them. And I'm able to, have frank conversations with my patients because of this and be like, hey, this is what you need to do. And not even just patients, people like I have young nieces. I have a young daughter, my friends with their girls and stuff. I'm like, hey, did you go, are you checking yourself, doing self exams, every time you get in the shower, know your body. So at the slightest change, you'll know, hey, and it may not be anything, but it could be something. But you'll know when that change is there because you have done that touching and that feeling, of your body. So when something pops up, you will know it, and you'll know it on the front end. And the sooner you know, the better off you'll be, and the better your chances will be. But I've had friends. It's been a couple years. I've had quite a few friends that have had breast cancer that I grew up with actually, and I get phone calls often because I do talk about it on my social media and have talked about it, and people that are friends of mine, they will call and be like, hey, I got a friend, or I got a sister, or whomever that is about to go through whatever. Can I give them your number, or will you take their number down and reach out to them and talk to them? um, for whatever, whether they need, just the emotional support, do they need, if they need the medical advice, because I'm capable as a nurse of, giving my advice on that part of it also. Um, you know, I've um I've sat with friends, unfortunately, who aren't with me anymore. That didn't make it. I was blessed to be able to sit here and have this conversation with you, but many aren't. I'm a hospice nurse now, and I've had and continue to see what breast cancer does, especially to our community. I've had men also, as you said, who have been in hospice that I've cared for who had breast cancer. I remember the first guy I got, I was, kind of taken aback because I had not met any, you know, males with breast cancer. And it's just as sad, just as devastating. And, you guys, Andre, and everybody else got to take care of yourselves too. The same applies, especially when you find out that it's in the family, So
So true. That's so true. It doesn't. I think people used to think, okay, it was only an issue with women, but the more technology is advanced, the more research and studies are done. Of course, now we know that it impacts men as well. So you make a very
very
valid
much
point.
so,
Oh yeah,
very much
absolutely.
so.
I want to ask you this. So we've talked about it not only affecting women, but also men. For you, if you remember, were there any key signs or symptoms? I know you talked about the lump that you felt, the
Mhm.
bump, but were there other signs like were you tired more, or did you oh, I don't know, was anything else happening like with hair loss? I know you said you lost weight in your starting to lose weight in your breasts. What
Mhm.
other symptoms did you notice that felt like, okay, something is off? I don't know what it is, but something is different.
Um, for me, my diagnosis was really early. So I was not honestly showing any symptoms. And the thing was that scared me as far as that goes is because if I had not intentionally started a weight loss journey, if I had kept that weight on me, we wouldn't have never known. We wouldn't have never known because I actually saw it and felt it. And by the time I started showing symptoms or got another mammogram done, it may have been too late, you know. So you really don't want to get to that point where you're feeling the exhaustion, your diet is changing because you're not hungry, um your breast is sore, um because I know that there's cases where you might start getting leakage around your nipple and things like that. And by the time you get to that point, it's well advanced, and you're gonna, you're gonna be going through a heck of a lot with your treatment and stuff. Um, so yeah, I don't want anybody to get to the point where they are actually having those symptoms. We got it. The key is to catch it early, and the only way to do that is to do the self exams when you're in the shower. Every time you're taking a shower, um, especially uh, women or men that have dense breast tissue, and that's one of the reasons they had to start doing those mammograms early because they got all this fatty tissue, and you're not, and it's covering up, you know, that lump. Once my breast size went down, the lump was obvious. But for those who still have the large breast or large breast tissue, large amount of breast tissue,
Mhm.
how do you know? You're not until doing your exams. And if the doctor, depending on your age and your family history, tell you, to get your mammograms done once a year, then doggone it, go get your mammograms done. It's important. My daughter, she's young, but she needs to go get her mammogram done. My granddaughter, when she gets of age, she's going to have to do the same.
True. It's true, it's hard to for a lot of people. I think with anyone really, but I really think for those who are young, they're still stuck in the mindset of I'm too young. This can't be happening to me. They try to they don't want to jeopardize their health. I don't know anybody that really wants to jeopardize their health, but they try to avoid
Hmm.
experiencing that. Like you're saying right now with going and getting a mammogram. It's not easy. It's a scary thought for many people, just the idea of it.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And it's I don't know if it's that age. I mean, because if you look at stuff now, they're getting younger and younger. I got 50-year-old patients in hospice. I had a 33-year-old girl with cancer in hospice, So it's the illnesses are coming at us at a much younger age. We don't know why, but what that tells us is it is coming earlier. That means we got to start taking care of ourselves sooner. Yeah, in the 20s and 30s, we still like to play around. We don't really want to go to the doctor. We don't do yearly physicals and stuff like that. But it's a necessity. And even when you think, no, I'm too young, that would never happen to me. It will, it can, it will. And until everybody gets that in their mind, we're going to keep losing our kids, losing our family members. And people are afraid to know. Quite frankly, I'm gonna say this, and because I'm gonna say this on here, and I've been one of those people that, especially once I found found out about the cancer, and every year is hard for me to go get my mammogram every year, and I am afraid. I am terrified because it's like in the back of my head, I'm just waiting on them to say it's back. So, like right now, I'm behind. I told myself I was going to get it done before this month closes out. Well, we at the end of the month, so November for sure. You can check back with me to make sure I did it. But yeah, it is scary. And sometimes we think it's just easier not knowing. But once it's going to come to surface. And at that point, the treatment is harder. The toll on your body is harder, and we don't want that. So y'all go check yourself and get your see your doctors, and and that's for everything. That's for prostate cancer, that's for colon cancer, all of it. All of it. Because right now, as a hospice nurse, the majority of my patients are dying from cancer, some form of cancer, you know, and a lot of it, all of it can't, won't be prevented, but we can sure try.
It's true. That's true. And
So,
speaking of which, I want to ask you this, especially being a black woman and a nurse, what barriers or disparities do you see within the black and brown communities that make it hard or harder to get treated or screened early?
mm. Woo, honey, that's a good question. That's a good question. I'm telling you, because I've had to deal with that um on several different levels. And I'm gonna tell you, I think we should be seeing our own doctors because of a certain understanding. Um, we don't, we're not listened to when we go in these hospitals in comparison to our counterparts. Um, even when it comes to men, the woman and man thing, if I go in and I complain of chest pain, they're going to they'll do an EKG, but that's all they're going to do. And then they're going to give me some lorazepam or something for anxiety. And they're not going to look any further because for whatever reason, for women, when it's anxiety, they're anxious, they've got, they're stressed out, you're going through this, you're going through that. And when men come in, it's just the automatically, chest pain, it's a possible heart attack. So they're gonna do the full workup. And that applies to anything. I just think for us it's best that if you're able for insurance, whether it has to do with your insurance or what have you, if you can find a doctor that looks like you, it is best because they have more of an understanding of what you're going through. Um, we don't live the same lives as our Caucasian counterparts, and things are easily accessible to them that aren't to us. And I mean, you can go in the ER, any given ER, and see that. I've gotten up and left with my baby before, and you know, the hospitals on the other in other areas, they don't have those issues. They're not crowded, and underfunded, and those kind of things. So yeah, that plays a big part, and it's really sad because it's not just about cancer. Because one thing that's on the TV all the time that's being blasted is about the women we're losing, our Black women we're losing in childbirth. You know, they come, they have a problem, and it's kind of written off, give them a band-aid and send them home. So yeah, there's that.
That's the unfortunate part. Unfortunate. It is sad. It really is sad. So I'm going to transition now from that to this. And this is really based off of your opinion and how you feel. What does Breast Cancer Awareness Month mean to you now versus before your diagnosis?
Hmm. Honestly, before my diagnosis at the age of 28 and before, I never thought anything about it. Not nothing. It never, because it never touched anybody I knew. It hadn't touched my family. So I didn't even talk about it. We didn't talk about it. And now, you know, um, I talk about it all the time. But Breast Cancer Awareness Month, I'm definitely, it's all over my social media. I'm checking in with my friends. Years almost gone. Have y'all gotten them tatas checked? Checking in with my daughter, with my nieces, because it's just so, so important. And by October, everybody should have had their stuff done. So yeah, I'm checking in with everybody. This is very important. It needs to be out there and talked about. Can't be talked about enough. Um, so yeah.
That's a pretty good answer. That is a very good answer because you're not only working hard to hold your own self accountable, but you're holding people in your family, your friends, even
Absolutely.
people on social media accountable.
Hmm.
So yeah, that's very good. So I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you for many reasons. One, for sharing your story, because I know it's not easy to go back and reflect on that journey and then share it right now. But then also because for a lot of people, once they've gone through it, they don't want to think about it ever. What you're doing is you're taking your experience and trying to tell other people, hey, get it done, get it checked. The quicker you get it checked out and everything is detected right away, the better off you'll be. And for a lot of people,
Amen.
they don't they try to avoid it, and I get it. Again, like you said, it's not easy,
Yeah,
but it's necessary.
it is. It really is. I mean, and like you said, once they've gone through it, it's scary. And we got to think too, when we're saying this about the people that don't want to talk about it, they're still fighting this inner struggle though, because they still got to go get those checkups. Like I said, every month is hard. I mean, every year is hard to walk up in there and do that mammogram and wait on those results. And they've got to do the same. So there's a lot of fear behind that. So I get it. So it's okay that they don't. There's enough of us out here that are pushing this agenda and talking to these young ladies and talking to these men now. We got to hear more about the men, because you guys are like breast cancer, type of thing. Y'all already don't want to get your prostates checked, so imagine how they feel that because they're like breast cancer. That's a womanly thing, and for them to have to humble themselves and deal with those issues, that's a lot. So we just have to keep putting it out there and them knowing that there's a lot of support out there. I think that helps. And by you doing things like this and putting these interviews and stuff out there and discussions, that's where it starts.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
So thank
I
you.
say thank you. I say every time I do a show, my goal is to inform, and in this instance, not only inform, but to hopefully save a life, save a life from
Absolutely.
what could be the
Absolutely.
inevitable. So I thank you for sharing your story. And I want to thank all of you for joining us today. This was a very deep and personal story. Share this with anybody that you know who may be going through this, especially those who are in the dark and who are alone and quiet about it, and who don't really talk about it with anybody. Share it with them. They could really use this advice and this information to help them. And thank you for joining me here today for the show. I hope you leave here informed and better off from where you were when the interview first started. Thanks again for being with us, and we'll see you next time. Be blessed.